Good evening, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you, sir?
Good afternoon.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, bhai.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Good evening, bhai. So as we decided in the last class, we will be discussing today the provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. And in the next class, we will be discussing taxation. Today is 20th. Next class is on 27th. And then the normal batch, as I said, will be starting by around 8th or 10th of March. Maybe we will get one more class in between that. These Friday classes will be there till around 10th of March. And then in place of Friday off, we will have the classes, one on Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. and one will be Saturday, 11 a.m. One day class in the weekend, Saturday, 11 a.m. and the another class will be on Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. This will be around 10th of March. And then there is US GAAP separate classes will be on Sunday 8 a.m. and most probably Friday at 8 p.m. Those will also start around 10th of March. As I said in the beginning also, the US GAAP is not a part of the syllabus of IFRS. But since we will be teaching CPA, FAR, students of IFRS can come attend those classes. So many classes, if the student will do recordings, they will puzzle. Maybe in the beginning, suppose from 10th of March, 4 class in a week. You will think that I will do recording. You will puzzle yourself. So attend the CPA FAR classes live, otherwise not. I'm not saying I will not give recording, but I know that you will not be able to manage so many recordings. So think logically that if you want to focus on IFRS area, then continue the IFRS classes. If you want to focus on US GAAP also, then attend the separate classes of US GAAP, which will be running 2 days in a week from around 10th of March. Presently, what we are studying in these classes, which is on Friday, 1.5 hours, 7:30 to 9 approx, are not syllabus content. I'm not saying IAS 38, 37 is not part of it is. But the purpose of this class is not going into question, the way the exam questions will be coming, how to write the answer. These I'm not discussing in these classes. Just basic understanding. Basic understanding of account. Somebody is not having sound knowledge of accounting, they should have basic understanding of different areas of financial statement. If somebody joined late, today is the first class, or maybe you joined in between, every class is very 1.5 hour maximum. This is the 6th one. And all these classes are freely uploaded on my YouTube channel. This will also be uploaded on YouTube channel. So you don't need to use any software also. You can just do the recordings from my YouTube channel, all these classes. This is named as IFRS special batch. I generally teach for 3 months. This is the first time I am teaching for around 5 to 6 months. So these classes which I am taking on Friday are not per se what is going to come in exam, how we need to answer the exam. That we will do from 10th of March around, because 3 months is enough for managing that. So these classes are not for exam purpose, for making your understanding about accounting much better. Obviously, those who have some weak knowledge in accounting, these classes are very helpful for those students, because when we will be going into technical discussion, more and more accounting part, and if these classes which we are running on every Friday will be very helpful for those students. Don't think that they are not part of the syllabus. Whether it's IAS 36, whether it's last class IAS 36, before that the external corporate borrowings, debts, then before that revenue, before that what do you say, leasing, before that the normal fixed assets accounting, everything is a part of the syllabus only. But students don't able to understand the accounting part when the basics are not clear. So to cover up those basics, these classes are running. Not from the exam point of view, but these are all part of the curriculum. Somebody will think that when that is not, why I will study. You will be able to understand these topics when we discuss more and more exam related or more detail when your basic understanding is clear. So don't think that it is not part of the syllabus, but the way the teaching is done in these classes are not thinking about what is going to come in exam. My purpose now, not that what is going to come on IAS 37 in exam. That we will discuss later. But when we discuss that, if you understand this, it will help you to make yourself more convenient, more understandable when you will be doing those classes which are technical oriented. Somebody was saying something. I was in a rhythm, so you stopped. Sorry. Somebody was saying something, unmuted yourself. Anybody has anything to say? Okay. To understand this IAS 37, we are taking one example. Suppose you all joined the classes for a diploma in IFRS. And suppose somebody in the class is not satisfied. Why he is not satisfied? There are 1,000 reasons. I'm not going into that. Suppose the student joined the classes and he is not satisfied. As per the terms and conditions of our classes, if you go on our website, the mail which you received before joining the classes, then the registration form which we are filling before joining the classes, all are writing the terms and condition everywhere. Ki fees once paid cannot be refunded. That's I'm talking about legal rules in Saraf Academy. On my website, on mail, and on registration form 3 times, it is communicated to the student that if you join the classes, you pay the fees. Later on, you can't demand the refund. But suppose a student is not satisfied. He is asking for refund. We are saying we will not give you refund. He says that I will take legal action. He will go to consumer court. He will appoint a lawyer. He will file a case and all that. Everything is happening. Now, suppose he filed a case of whatever money he paid. He want a refund. And at the same time, some penalty that this is not done for him and all that. And he is asking for that penalty also. We receive a notice from a lawyer, from court, from consumer court, wherever he applied. From there, we received a notice. And we also appointed our lawyer, our legal person, to fight with the student. And the legal thing is going on. This is very normal thing in any business, not for Saraf Academy, any business. You all are professionals working in the organization. Any supplier, any customer, any staff, any employee, anything can arise. and they filed a case. Suppose I'm taking my example to make you understand in much better way. But you take any organization, Reliance, ITC, forget about Saraf Academy. Take your organization, definitely you must have come across these types of things. The court case is going on. Maybe, suppose my lawyer is saying that you need to refund to the student because student is valid and all that. And he's saying that the refund amount will be approximately 50,000. My legal team, those who are working with Saraf Academy as a consultant or as a staff of Saraf Academy, they are telling me that, sir, we need to pay 50,000 to the student as a compensation. The chances are high. But the court case is going on. Chance doesn't mean that it is, I'm required to pay today. When I will lose the case, when I will not be able to fight with the student, when I will not be able to fight with the customer, supplier, or anything, and I lose the case, then I will need to pay. And in one court of law, if I am not winning, I can apply to the higher court, the local jurisdiction, the local court, then the national court, then the Supreme Court. There are many things. We know all the things we hear. The question is that if my lawyer is suggesting that Saraf Academy में we need to pay 50,000 to the student as compensation, the chances are there. Now, do I need to make a recording of this expense or loss of 50,000 now? Because presently I am not paying because I have not lost the case. The case is going on in the consumer court, in the court of law, wherever he has filed. There the court case is going on. But my lawyer is suggesting that, saying me that you need to pay 50,000 to the student. Do I need to record that 50,000 which I need to pay to the student now? Or I will record when I will pay to the student when I will lose the case. I may not lose because there is no 100% surety that I will lose the case. But if I will lose the case in 2027, then I need to pay to the student. The court case may be going on for a long time. But today, when the court case is going on, my year ending is March 31st, 2026. The year ending for Saraf Academy, March 2026. So do I need to record in March 2026 50,000 loss payable to the customer because of the claim, court case and all that? Do I need to record or I don't need to record? The question comes here. What do you all think? Do we need to record or do we don't need to record this today in March 2026? Yes. But then this is very simple answer, sir, yes or no. 50% you will be correct only. Logic behind saying yes.
Sir, actually, in that case, the time and the money both are uncertain. That's why we want to recognize the same. Yes.
So you want to say that if the time and amount is uncertain, then we are bound to record the expense in the books of accounts. That is
Yes,
the
sir,
logic.
as a provision. Because in that case,
But
we
every
don't know that
provision will have a time and amount uncertainty. Every provision, sir. Anything. Any example you take, I'm taking, suppose there is a supplier and the supplier supplied wrong quality of goods. I filed a case, but he's saying, no, it is correct. You have to pay. I'm not paying this, that. So it is an amount, and because provision means what? The uncertainty is there. What? There are two things, the amount and time. So any provision where the amount, time, uncertainty is there, that means you are saying that every provision need to be recorded as an expense.
no, sir. But the present obligation which must be created through from the past event. But in that case, as you don't have any past events because you are not acknowledged the same after that, that's why it may not be comes because no present obligation is there, sir.
So that means that you know something, technicality, present obligation, these, that, but the understanding is not pretty clear. Huh? What is present? No problem. We have to discuss these things because whenever any law, whether it's IFRS, whether it's company law, whether it's income tax, when the language is written in the law, what is the interpretation of the language we need to understand. Maybe in exam, when I will be teaching from March 10th around, I will be saying that but you don't need to copy paste whatever exactly written in the IFRS language. You can make your own language. For exam, that is pretty well allowed. But then we need to understand what is the meaning of these things. First of all, if we think, forget about provision or anything. From childhood, we are studying that accounts are prepared on conservative principle. You must have all studied books of accounts, PL account, balance sheet need to be prepared on conservative principle. Do we know what is conservative principle? Huh? What is conservative principle? In simple language, forget about accounting language. What is conservative principle? Huh?
Extra cost.
Huh? Yes, sir.
Extra costs.
Extra losses.
Cost.
We say conservative means recording of expenses and losses will be much faster, will be more earlier as compared to recording of incomes and gains. While recording expenses, losses, or any liability, if there is not 100% chance, there is a slight chance, we are bound to record. But if there is an income or assets, then we need to be more sure. Somebody will say, why? Why, sir? We need to follow conservative principle. Yes, Sunil, you are saying something.
No, actually, the highest amount, sir, even if, for example, in these countries, when an employee is resigned, the gratuity is 50%, but when it is terminated, it is 100%. So normally, every year, we take the gratuity provision as 100%. This is based on the conservative basis.
You are saying that if the employee will retire normally, we need to pay 50%. But if we are retrenching the employee, if we are abandoning the business, then we need to pay 100%. I don't know in India this rule is there. Maybe in your place this rule is there.
Yes, sir, here it
Question
is
is
there.
that
So,
this is legal requirement. That you were saying is legal requirement. It's not a question of conservative. It's a legal requirement that you need to pay. Then
but when we make the
fine.
provision, we make 100% for all the employees, irrespective of, we don't know how it is going to be. So we take the extreme, the highest in every case.
We are saying that there is an employee benefits separate accounting in IFRS, US GAAP and all that. The employee benefits accounting, I will say, relevant with this provision, but it is separate, sir. Slightly. I'm not going into that because there are many things. But we need to understand conservative in a very simple language, sir. If suppose I'm talking about there is a case of 50,000 payable to a student because my lawyer is saying that we may lose the case, sir. But there are big court cases in a company relating to assets purchase, assets sold, relating to big clients, big customers, big suppliers, many. And those big amounts, if you don't record as an expense when you have certain feeling, you know that it may be a loss or it may be some, what do you say, bad for the organization. You are not recording because the bad has not arises. You will record when it will arise. It will actually create confusion in our mind when we look at the financials of the organization, that it was running very well, even though the court case or something was there. And bold from the blue, someday we lost the case and we are recording the entire amount as an expense on one single day in 1 year. The income which we reported earlier are actually higher. We have not recorded the losses which may arise because that were not arises 100%. At that time, we were thinking 60, 70, 80%. Later on, the loss actually materialized. and we are recording all the losses in subsequent year. Earlier we recorded high income, high earnings per share. You understand, those who are looking at the financial statements, suppose I am looking at Reliance, ITC, any company financials, and they are not recording these types of provisions or losses which we are discussing. And one day, maybe from income tax department, they lost a case or something. Suppose all FDI, all I mean to say foreign companies who have invested in India, say Vodafone. I don't know exactly, but normally it comes in the news that Vodafone has huge amount of money, income tax and GST case going on with the government. You can check on ChatGPT, Google also. And the amount is very big. But the case is going on. So Vodafone is not recording them as an expense, suppose, because they have not lost the case. The case is still running for 5, 6, 7 years. It's a big amount. They are not recording any expense. And suppose tomorrow they lost the case. So what they knew since last 4, 5 years, they are not recording any expense. They are recording good income, earnings per share. The people who are looking at the financials, they are buying their shares, they are giving them the loan and all that. And tomorrow it came. And then when it came, all look very bad. The profit is converted into loss, earnings per share very low, the liability are very high, assets are not sufficient to pay the liabilities. Why we have done business with that company who is involved in that type of thing? We can say that the management is actually bad. They are not showing correct picture because maybe the auditor has done the audit, but those information we are not given to the auditor. How the auditor will come to know something which is not presented to the auditor? Ultimately, the management nature, culture, the management ethics is very bad. Do we think we should have any business relationship with that type of organization who is doing like this? I don't think so. We should not buy the shares. We should not invest in the company. We should not give loan to that company. We should not give debt. We should not buy goods and services from that type of company. Because even though books of accounts are prepared based on past data, but everything in the books of accounts, whether it's depreciation, whether it's provision, any type of loss which may arise, because of the transactions already happened, the loss not yet materialized, it will materialize, but we are not recording. Then the books of accounts are never going to give you a correct picture. If you will say that you will win a court case, the court case you will win, you will start recording income. You can't, man. When you have not won the case, how can you record the income? Then to everybody, I will rethink that next year, since I am teaching very well, the student will be double. I start recording income that also. For income, you need to be more and more sure. We use a word in accounting called virtual certainty. Not that 100% certainty, mota moti it's certain. Then you can record income and assets. But if we are talking about expenses, liability, even though there is a less chance of materializing, even though there is no high chance that we will lose the case, we will lose the money, but still we bound to record. Because the purpose of books of accounts are not solved if we don't follow conservative principle. We say that for last 10, 15, 20 years, the books of accounts are prepared on fair value principle. I'm not going into deep of that fair value for the time being, but we are saying for the last at least 10 years plus, we are saying books of accounts, PL account, balance sheet, everything should be prepared on fair value principle. Better than conservative. But still the fair value principle says everywhere the conservative concept. It is still not left. It is still there because we understand books of accounts, if not prepared on conservative way, they are not going to give you correct picture. Not for the shareholder, not for the investor, not for the suppliers, not for the finance provider. Then what is the purpose of preparing books of accounts? When we say conservative, if there is a less chance of suffering loss, there is less chance of making payment. The amount is uncertain. The timing is uncertain. But you have the feeling. You know something has happened. The outflow may be there. The loss may be there. May not be today. Tomorrow, 1 year later, 2 years later. You know that today. You should be recording that, sir. So that you will record the income which you believe that the income the organization has generated. You record the liability which is payable. You don't do window dressing. That liabilities are there, expenses are there, and you are not booking just that it is not 100% sure. You can't do that. Otherwise, today you will be showing very good picture. Tomorrow you will be saying bad, which is actually you should have shown today only. So the accounting body has made a fixed principle, whether it's US GAAP, whether it's IFRS, whether it's Indian accounting, we are bound to follow conservative principle while preparing books of accounts, P&L account, balance sheet. This IAS 37, I don't remember in which year it came. But when this was not there, then there was no rule. It was just conservative principle you need to follow. There was no rule as such written by accounting body that how you will come to conservative knowledge, how you will record an expense even though it is not payable now, even though it is uncertain. Even they have made a rule into this. How you will come to make that rule? How you will understand that rule? Like Sudipto was saying something. He knows something, but the knowledge is not perfect. Some problems are there in the knowledge. Any correlation with any wordings. We need to understand those things very carefully. That what the accounting body is saying relating to uncertainty. When they will be recorded as an expense, when they will be recorded as a liability, what are the conditions we need to check? For recording expenses, losses, liability, we need to be more eager, more early to record. But for recording income, assets, gains, we need to be more sure relating to realization. You can't record income just based on projection. You need to be more certain, because that we need to show to the outsiders, this is my worth, this is my assets value, this is my income. I can't show something which I don't have, which I am not having. Then there is no purpose of preparing books of accounts. How the IAS 37, how this thing will be accounted for as a provision, as something which is going to gain contingent assets, that is explained in this. And we need to apply this in every uncertainty, in any business, not only Saraf Academy, in every business. We are bound to apply this principle. Maybe some differences are there in US GAAP. The basics will never change. The 80-90% IFRS, Indian accounting, US GAAP are same. Some differences are there. You will be able to understand that very fast if you have the basic understanding of accounting. We are discussing basics. I will discuss US GAAP difference also. But for the time being, forget about IFRS, Indian accounting, US GAAP, the basic principle of uncertainty. Just now Sudipta said that, sir, there is no present obligation, or there is a present obligation, there is a probable. When we go into accounting language, whether you go in IFRS, Indian accounting or US GAAP, the language are written this only. For any expense or liability, you will record in the books when there are three conditions satisfied. Those three conditions, if you write in IFRS exam, you will not get anything. No marks. These three conditions, how they are satisfied, you need to mention, you need to explain there. Then only in exam you will get the marks. Similarly, the cases which we are discussing, we are applying these conditions in very logical way, so that never we will do any mistake. There is a present obligation. The customer has taken the classes. The customer has paid the money. The customer has filed a case. That is giving present obligation. It is not that my lawyer is saying, or I have lost the case, that is present obligation. Present obligation means whatever uncertainty you are discussing, that uncertainty has already taken place. The uncertainty is already happened. The uncertainty is already going on. So in the court, on 31st March 2026, court case is going on between Saraf and the customer. Maybe consumer court, maybe any other court, sir. The customer has already filed a case. That is called present obligation. I will take other example also. But present obligation, Sudipta, doesn't mean that you have lost the case in the court. That to there is no provision. Then to you have lost. The court case has been filed by the staff, by the customer, by the supplier, by anybody you name, sir, against you. When the court case is filed, the court case is going on. And if you may lose the case, you need to pay the money. You are bound to under obligation to pay. On 31st March, Saraf Academy is under obligation to pay. If we lose the case, the court case is going on, it's called present obligation. At the end of the year, when I am preparing my books of accounts, I have a present obligation that I need to compensate to the customer if I will lose the case, because the court case is already filed. The court case is already running. The event has already happened. But the decision has not yet taken. There is a thought process or probability that we may lose the case, we may win the case and all that. I don't know the probability. The lawyer, those who are knowledgeable person in this area, they are giving me the probability on 31st March whether I will lose the case or I will win the case. In English language, in IFRS language, we say probable means probability greater than 50%. Probable means probability greater than 50%. Probable, simple meaning probability greater than 50%. My lawyer is saying that Saraf will lose the case. The probability is 60%. That means it is probable. Probable thing related with probability. Present obligation related with at the end of the year, you have an obligation, something happened. Whether the obligation you need to pay, don't know. But the obligation is already present. In the court case is going on. You are obliged to fulfill the court demand whenever it will arise. The court case is already going on. There is a present obligation and probability of that obligation. Probable means probability greater than 50%. Reliable estimation. What will be the amount I need to pay when I will lose the case in the court? That amount need to be estimated. If you can't estimate the amount, how you will record in the books? Without amount, you can't record. Who will do the estimation? Not me. Lawyer. Those who are knowledgeable person in that field. Not that you need to do all the estimation. Estimation will be done by the knowledgeable person in that field. If the knowledgeable person is doing a reliable, we can rely on that person based on his estimation, we can rely. Then in that case, the amount which that person is estimating is reliable. The probability is greater than 50% and the present obligation is there. I am bound to record a loss, provision, anything in the books. The amount is not yet paid, so it will come as a liability also. In the PL account, I will record the loss or expense, whatever name you say. And in the balance sheet, the amount is not yet paid in March 31st. It is still payable. So the amount will be recorded in the balance sheet also as a liability. Suppose I said in the class, I am not saying, just taking an example. I said in the class, those who will regularly attend the classes, those who will do the recordings of the classes, whether you are doing recordings or not. Presently, these classes are not in the software. You can do recordings from software also. These are freely uploaded on YouTube. But from the software, if you do recording, I can check how many times you logged in, how long you were there on the software. I can check. So if the student attended the live classes, if the student do the recordings, if the student solve the homework assignments which will be given, you will say, sir, you are presently specifically no assignments. Whatever is taught, you should be studying again. So if the assignments student is solving, if the student, whatever mock test I am taking in the class, submitting the answers. And in that case, if the student fail, I will pay to the student the exam fees which he will pay to the institute, because the exam fees is payable again if you fail the exam. So I said in the class that if you attend the classes, you do recordings, you solve assignments, do the homework, you do the mock test in the class whenever I take, you submit your answers, still you fail in the exam, I will give you the exam fees refund. Is there any law anywhere in the world? No law like this. This is my law. I am making for Saraf Academy as a rule. This is not legal requirement. This is my, I am not saying this, sir. I am not saying this. I am just giving this as an example. This is just an example. Okay. I am saying that in a court case, there is a court, legal things are there. But now the example don't involve any legal thing. It is just that I am for my business making some policies which are legally not required, but I am doing my policies. And I am always abiding those policies in my business. In the past also, if this has happened, I have refunded the exam fees to the student. Suppose. Then this is called legal obligation? No. This is called constructive obligation. Constructive obligation means a company, based on their ethics, guidelines, sustainability, all other factors, they have made some principles for themselves. Those are not legal, but the company has made a principles for themselves. Under that also, if there is an obligation, then the obligation is constructive, not legal, but it is an obligation because I have communicated to all of you, written in my mail, written in my website, everywhere it is written. As a policy, Saraf Academy is doing like this. And probable, the probability of that is greater than 50%. Estimate is whatever the exam fees can be estimated. I need to make a provision of that also. I need to record that as a loss, expense in PL account in the balance sheet liability. You will say that, sir, if there are, suppose in a batch, there are 100 IFRS students. How many will give exam in June? There are 100 IFRS students. How many will give exam in June? Alik, Arnab, or Arun, Giri, Harish, Sunil, Kwan, Sudipta Paul, Sunil, Vasis. Who will give exam in June? Everybody will say, I will. But what happens, sir? This is not my first year, sir. As far as IFRS teaching, it is 17, 18 years every 6 months. As far as normal teaching, I am teaching for more than 30 years. How many students in a course appear for the exam when the exam comes? Less than 25%. Less than 25%. You will say why? I am not going into that detail. Okay? The students are giving exams, whether it's CA I taught, CMA India I taught, CFA I taught, then you can say ACCA, CMA, CPA, IFRS, any exams. Less than 25% student give exam when it comes. You will say, sir, we are working and all that. Bullshit, sir. Nobody is asking you to study 10 hours. Every day, 1.5 hours. If you study, that you can study. But you will not study. You will study on the day of exam. How you will book the exam, sir? So first of all, 25% will give exam. Out of 25%, those who give exam, they book the exam. Who will pass and will not pass? Simply those who will attend the classes, those who do the recordings, those who solve the assignments, those who solve the mock papers, they will give the exam, they will pass the exam. Nobody will fail, sir. So in my case, if I will announce this also, there is a present obligation, but the probability is laddu, 0. Probability is laddu. So what is the reliable estimate? Question comes. No question comes, sir. You will say that, sir, out of say 125 student, one student can fail. How? We need to go in the past. That in the past, so many batches, how many students have given the exam? And how many students who have given exam, attended the classes, did the recording, solved the assignments, and still they failed. Sunil must be understanding this. I'm wrong or right, sir? Huh?
You are correct, sir. You are 100%.
Because maybe Sudipta will not understand, you will understand this, sir. So what I'm saying that if I will go in see last 10 batches, not beyond that, I will not find a single student who has done all these things and failed in the exam. I'm not saying a student has not failed, they have failed, but they have not attended the classes, they have not studied, they have not solved the assignments. How they will pass, sir? The question doesn't come at all. But still, suppose in last 10 batches, I found that 5% of the student still failed. Suppose, just for understand. In my case, if you go in last 10 years, because those who are giving exam in March, ACCA, not IFRS, I have made a list in front of each student who is going to fail, who is going to pass. Already the list is ready. Those who are giving exam in March, ACCA, for 2nd of March till 6th of March, exams are there. I already know who is going to pass, who is going to fail. Not 100% surety. With 90-95% confidence. Everybody is not attending live classes. Are they doing recording? If they are doing recording, are they asking any doubt? If they are asking any doubt, what type of doubt they are asking? One doubt of yours will give me the feeling whether you are preparing properly or not. Only one doubt. If you are not asking any doubt, you are going to fail. If you are asking doubt, but the doubt are very silly at the time of exam, maybe you are pressured, but silly doubt should not be arising. If you are asking silly doubts, that means the chances of your passing is very less. Don't think ACCA or IFRS is easy. 40%, 50% result doesn't matter like that. I'm not going into these things. Sorry, sir, this will never end. I'm saying I want to say that in my case, if I'm introducing this is not legal. This is my policy of Saraf Academy. And if I found in the last 10 exams, 10 terms, there is a 5% student who did the live class, recording class, 5% student failed. So in this batch also, out of 25, 5% will fail. 25, 5%. You will say, sir, probability is less than 50%. Sir, out of last 10 years, whoever given exam, after studying everything, 5% failed. So this time also out of 25, 5% will fail. That is 5% is not that 50%. This 5% is, you can say, in my organization happening every year. On an average, I have seen that in last 10 terms, those who are studying is still failing the exam 5%. So this time also out of 25, 5% will be coming 1.25. Say 1. One student exam fees is around 18,000, 147 pound. So I need to refund one student exam fees around 18,000. The student has already joined the classes. The student is doing the classes. The student is not giving exam in March. The student will be giving exam in June. There is no March exam. But on the basis of my past experience, data and all that, one student out of the student who are studying will fail, and that one student will be refunded the exam fees around 18,000. There is no surety. It is a contingency. It is an uncertainty. Out of this one student, this one will fail, and I need to refund this much. Is there a present obligation? The student has joined the classes. And I have already communicated in the mail, in the agreement, that if you study and still you fail, I will refund you. There is a present obligation. Probable in the last 10 term, every term on an average 5% student failed. So this term also 5%, which is, I will say, probability greater than 90%. 5% is for calculation. But the probability of failure, since last term it is happening, 10 terms, It will happen this time again. The probability is greater than 50%. Reliable estimate. Number of students who will fail. Exam fees is around 17,000-18,000. Estimation is very easily possible. I am bound to make a provision in Saraf Academy PL account in March 2026. That provision for, what do you say? Construct provision for student exam obligation, whatever name you say. In the PL account, I will record expense. In the balance sheet, I will record liability. Maybe nobody failed this time. Maybe in June exam, when the result comes, nobody failed. I will cancel the provision. I will record it as an income. But I need to make a provision because all the three conditions are fulfilled. There is a present obligation. Student joined the classes and student has already been informed. If you do this and you fail, I will refund you the exam fees. The present obligation is still there on 31st March. Probable, last 10 terms, 5%. Fail. This time also, probability greater than 50%. Estimation, number of student 18,000. As reliable estimate, I need to record the provision. Don't think that the uncertainty will only be related to the legal things. Whatever policy you have made in your organization, against that you are bound. Maybe that is not legally required. You have made a policy for you. They are also covered here. Only the legal obligations are not there. The constructive obligations are also covered. Why I am saying this? The organization where you are working, your organization is selling some product and services. To compete with the competitor, your organization has done something different. I don't know, sir. Different student working in different industry. But if the organization is saying something, the organization is obligatory, constructive obligation relating to that at the end of the year. If these conditions are fulfilled, we are required to make a provision. We are required to record a loss. And we are required to record in the balance sheet the liability because the amount is not yet paid. Provision amount cannot be 100% sure. But that doesn't mean that you don't record. You need to make an estimation. You need to record it. When the actual payment will be done, 1 year, 2 years, 6 months later, whatever provision you have created, actual payment less or more, the difference will be recorded in the books of accounts. But presently, you are required to record based on the provision, based on the uncertainty. So it is not only legal, it is constructive obligation also. Don't mix all the 3 points. Don't mix. All 3 are separate. The first one is saying something already happened, against which you have an obligation at the end of the year. Maybe legal, maybe constructive. The probability is greater than 50% and the reliable estimation of that can be possible. Then you are required to make a provision. If any one of these conditions are not fulfilled, you don't need to make a provision. You don't need to record in PL account. You don't need to record in balance sheet as a liability. Any one of the condition is not fulfilled, no provision. There are millions of cases, examples which arises in different organizations daily. You can't discuss every example as an exhaustive list. There is no examples of list that these are there. Any organization, anything can come. Anything, man. In my case, that example was related to warranty only. Suppose I have purchased air condition. Air condition compressor guarantee 1 year. Warranty 1 year. Okay, if I am purchasing the AC and it is compressor out of order within 1 year, then they will replace the compressor without any charges. I am giving practical example. I purchased the freezer around 2 years back. The compressor guaranteed 7 years. But in 2 years, the freezer compressor out of order. Okay? The freezer compressor out of order. Arey yaar. 1 second. It is 7:30 gone kya? No, sorry. Yes. Okay. The compressor condition is out of order. Compressor, the freezer came, the person came, we complained. He said compressor kharab ho gaya. They replaced the compressor without any charges. The compressor charges are at least 10 to 15,000. But mine not, I've not done anything else. I've not done anything bad. Compressor. So Out of so many AC air condition they are selling, out of so many, one or two may have the compressor problem. That is comes under warranty. Now, there is a legal obligation here because the compressor warranty in legal term they have said. They have sold the AC. So there is a present obligation. Probability in last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever number of AC they have sold, they have found that 2% of the AC sold has compressor problem on an average. So in this year also, whatever AC they have sold, 2% will have the compressor problem. And for compressor, the amount of loss to the company for compressor reinstallation will be say 10,000 per AC. So whatever AC sold in 2026 March multiplied by 2% multiplied by 10,000 will be the amount of provision we are bound to record. Whether it's a motor car, whether it's AC, whether it's computer, whether it's TV or any product, sir. You will think 2%, but 2% is not the probable probability. Every year for last 5, 7 years, 2% has an issue. So this year also 2% will have an issue. Maybe it will arise after 6 months, 1 year, it doesn't matter. The sale arises during the year. And you have already a present obligation, you have sold the goods. If the problem arises, you need to meet up. The probability is greater than 50%. Estimation can be done. Why you will not record the losses, sir? My example of saying the student will be refunded the exam fees is same only, sir. That is the same story. This is just that in a different way I am giving the example. What I mean to say that you can't cover every example which will come in life. No book can cover. This is very open-ended, sir. But every case need to be analyzed under 3 points. Every case. And if you can analyze every case, that means in exam you can never fail in the exam, sir. Because when they are asking a question on provision, you are very crystal clear in your brain. Is there a present obligation? Is there a probability greater than 50%? Is the estimation possible? Then in that case, provision is required. But if you are writing there this, and you are not correlating why this has happened here, they are going to give you out of total marks, not maximum 20% marks. Since technically you know, but you don't able to apply the technical knowledge in the practical sense. No marks to be given to the student as far as pass marks is concerned. वो नहीं आने वाला. So it is, the examples are non-exhaustive, sir, unlimited examples. As I said, you all are working somewhere. You take in your organization examples. You will find there are endless examples. No book can cover all the examples here. The book can cover the basic understanding right up. That you need to apply in every example. Suppose there is another example. A company has 10 factories. One of the factory they want to close. They are doing restructuring. Because so much demand is not there, they want to run with 9 factories. One factory they want to close. What will happen to the employees of that factory? What will happen to the assets of that factory? The decision to close a factory cannot be taken in 1 second. The board of directors need to meet, discuss pros, cons and everything, need to communicate to the staff that we are going to close our factory 2 months, 3 months, 4 months later, need to have a plan properly, how we close, how we dispose of and all that. The proper restructuring should be there. It is not done, but it is going to be done. The plan is there. Board of directors decided, it is communicated to the affected parties. Everything is done. And you know that when you are closing something, you will suffer losses. You will not get the assets proper value. You need to give employees extra money. Just now Sunil was saying, extra money, which is not required. So you need to make a provision for that. Because again, it's a case of the decision is already taken. Board of members taken the decision. Detailed plan is there. And it is communicated to the staff. So there is a present obligation. The probability of that happening is 100%. We have already it is greater than 50%. What will be the loss to the company? How much extra money to be paid to staff? How much assets loss we will suffering? Whatever we will be suffering as losses. we need to make a provision of that. Provision for restructuring. I'm just giving examples. These are just examples. You can't have 360-degree every example we can discuss. We cannot think so much. But every example need to be compared, need to be analyzed based on the 3 points. And if satisfies all the 3 points, you are bound to make a provision. If any one of the condition not fulfilled, then no provision. Not only IFRS, Indian accounting, US GAAP, all three, sir. Don't think that US GAAP is different. Accounting is accounting only, sir. Everybody is getting my point. Sudipta, now the clarity comes.
Sir, yes, sir. I have one clarity,
Yes.
but I have one question, sir.
Yeah.
In case of the factory, if it is in under loss, then why we books the assets under this provision? Why we are not using the impairment in that case, if it is in loss, our case? Then
Sir, impairment means what? Your business
impairment is a loss.
your business is running, but you find
Uh,
that the business is doing bad, the proper cash flows are not coming. You must have done the impairment already. But even after impairment, you are thinking you will not run because it's never going to give you income. You are thinking of closing it down. So even after the impairment, when you decided this, when you come in, you know that there are further losses you are going to suffer while disposal, which you have not recorded as impairment because at that time, the impairment was not that much amount. But now when you have decided, there are further losses and expenditures you are going to bear. For that, it's not that you have not done the impairment earlier. You have done. But still there are extra because if after impairment you are able to revive, you are able to run the business, you are able to generate income, why you will close the business, sir? Generally, you will not. When the business is something is not going to give you revival, then only you decide to close. So you have done impairment, whatever was required. But now you are standing at a different juncture, different position, where you want to close the business. You have a plan and everything. And you know that you will suffer losses in disposal. You have to make a provision separate, which is not impairment, sir.
okay, sir.
Think, sir. Suppose you thought that I will be joining IFRS classes, I will be studying, but you have not. I'm saying bad things. And you are not giving exam in June. Presently, you said yes, sir. But I have seen that yes, sir happens in the beginning. In the middle, only student says, I have so many problems. My office work is so high. I face problem in life and I am not able to give exam. It's my personal issue. They say that. Maximum students, sir. But I mean to say that nowadays, you cannot study the way you studied for CMA India. 7 hours, 10 hours in a day. If you joined IFRS thinking that you will be studying 7, 10 hours, then you are in wrong notion, sir. You need to study regularly, slightly, half an hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hours, regularly. That much time you can bring out. When you make a policy in your life that I will study 1 hour at mota moti every day, you will be able to give exam easily. But then the student don't study. Maybe sometimes in the beginning they are coming in the classes. Later on they don't come in the classes. They don't do recordings only. So how they will give exams, sir? Understand? Okay? Why I am saying this? Because it happens every batch. What should I do? What can I do? I don't have any rights, sir. What I am saying that you can have any example and in the exam also any example will come. You need to analyze the example under these 3 points. And if all these 3 points are fulfilled, you are bound to make a provision. If any one of the condition is not fulfilled, you don't need to make a provision. You don't need to record a provision. I have written some examples. ABC Limited sued by a customer 10 crore. The chance is 70% we will lose. And the estimated amount is 8 crore. So customer goods are already sold. Present obligation. Chance 70% greater than 50%. Estimation amount given. We have to make a provision for 8 crore. Do we need to make a provision? Nothing. 10, 8 crore. Present obligation, yes, because the court case is already filed. Probable outflow, yes, because 70% probability. Reliable estimate, 8 crore given in the question. So provisions amount will be 8 crore. PL account debit, provision credit as a liability, and 8 crore will come in the balance sheet as a liability. Probability determine recognition. But just with the probability, you can't record unless and until you don't have the value. Probability will say that you need to recognize. But if the amount you don't know, how you will recognize? If the measurement is not there, reliable estimate, reliable measurement, you can't record in the books. Suppose there is a case going on with the income tax department. They are demanding, I'm not paying because I am fighting with them. You are wrong and all that. Now the probability is greater than 50%. But my income tax lawyer is not able to tell how much amount. The amount they cannot say. I can't record. In Vodafone case, you can refer after the class. So many amount they have not recorded in PL account. Why? Because the reliable estimation cannot be done. But they are writing in the notes to accounts that estimation cannot be done. If any one of the condition is not fulfilled, whether the probability less than 50% estimation cannot be done, it need to be mentioned in the notes to accounts outside the PL account balance sheet. Notes to accounts in any organization 100 pages plus. Reliance, PL account balance sheet 2 to 3 pages. Notes to accounts 100 pages plus. That too also 8 font size. Notes to accounts very lengthy. But everything you understand from the notes to accounts only. Not looking at the PL account balance sheet figures. So if the provision is not possible because of any one of the reason not condition fulfilled, then we need to make disclosures, contingent liability in notes to accounts. Another example, the same example, 40% probability in place of 70. Now we don't need to make a provision, no provision. But 40% means one of the condition, middle one, probable, not probable. We need to disclose in the notes to accounts as contingent liability, so that users can understand there is some liability the company has not recorded, but they may suffer. Example, somebody was saying warranty written, 10,000 units sold, 1 year warranty. Our experience shows 3% there will be warranty clause on the goods. 3% goods will have problem and the repair cost will be 5,000 per unit. So you can say that 10,000 into 3% units into 5,000 will be the loss. The goods are sold, warranty clause is there, present obligation. Probability for last so many years 3% losses are we are suffering. So it is 100%. Estimate 5,000 per unit. So everything, all the things are satisfied. We are required to make a provision. Warranty debit, provision for warranty. Provision is recognized at the time of sale, not when the customer comes back, not when the customer complains. Matching principle. You have recorded revenue in the current year. Against that revenue, there is a warranty. You need to record now only. When the customer will complain, not that. Now. Because you have already the past experience, man. How many goods warranty comes? On that basis, you need to record. You can't record higher income. Later on, you say, warranty ka paisa dena hai. That means you are preparing bogus accounting. The management is very poor. They are not recording the expenses on conservative basis. Restructuring. If management internally plan closure, but does not announce publicly, no provision, because you need to inform to everybody. IAS 37 says detailed plan should be there. Valid expectation created that we are finding out persons to sell the assets and all that. We have started working based on that and communicated to all the affected parties. That means there is a present obligation. The probability is greater than 50% and the reliable estimation is possible. Then we need to make a provision for that. If it is question of income, assets, you can't record, sir. The probability is 70%, then also you can't record. The probability should be virtually certain. What is virtually certain? Suppose the court case is decided in my favor, I will receive money, but I will receive next year. Now, though it is certain I will receive. That is, you can say 95, 100% probability, 90, 95% probability. The company filed a case to recover 5 crore, 60% chance. Recognize asset? We cannot. We cannot. No recognition. Since the probability is greater than 50%, probable, we will disclose in the notes to accounts, we can receive this money. But if it is virtually certain, 90, 95, 98% probability, then we can record. You will say, sir, who will come to know? How we will come to know 98% probability? Anybody who is attending the class, doing the assignments, doing the recordings, doing the mock papers and everything, what is the probability of that student passing the exam? 95, 98%, not 100%. Why? Maybe while going in the exam center, met with an accident. I am saying bad thing. But everything, there is many a slip between the cup and the lip. 100% तो कुछ होता ही नहीं है सर. लेकिन 95, 98% means virtually certain. Then you will record in the books of accounts, sir. Then you will record income and then you will record an asset. So probable loss, and it can be measured, then we need to make a provision. If the possible loss means less than 50%, we cannot record in notes to accounts. If there is probable but the estimation is not possible, then also we cannot record. But if the probable gain, 50% more we will receive, disclose, not in the PL balance sheet. Virtually certain, then you record the assets. We can say simply whether it's banks, whether it's investors, whether it's analyst, whether it's CEO, CFO. If the accounts are not prepared following these principles, then the profit is wrong, assets liability values are wrong, debt equity ratio wrong. It will give wrong picture about the valuation of the company, about the shares of the company. It will be giving wrong picture about profit. So remuneration, incentive based on profit will be wrong. Those things will be the problem if we prepare books of accounts like this. I've written some general questions here. You can go through. I'm not saying I don't want to read, but I've already explained these things in a different manner. Then comes the difference with the US GAAP. US GAAP, all the things are same, just that more surety. They are saying when you record the provision, the probability should be 70, 80%, not 50%. When you record the income, it should be 100%, not 95%. When you record the expenses, in case of IFRS, you will calculate present value if they are going to arise 1 year later, 2 year, 3 year. In US GAAP, no present value, the same amount. Present value not to be calculated. In US GAAP, if suppose we just now said warranty, the probability is 3%, 5%, 6% different. The warranty clause may be coming on 3%, 5%, 6% items. IFRS says you find out average. Amount into probability, expected value. US GAAP says either you calculate what is going to, not expected, what is going to maximum chance, if not the minimum value. US GAAP is here, you can say slightly more, I will say normal. The recording of expenses required 70, 80% probability. The recording of expenses does not require present value calculation. The recording of income requires 100% surety. So IFRS record income, expenses, amount and all that faster, more. But US GAAP record more later and lesser amount of provisions. You can say US GAAP is slightly lenient as compared to IFRS. You will say why? My general knowledge says, not written anywhere here, in US everything is rule based. But in India and IFRS it's principle based. Principle based means if something in IFRS written, I don't want to follow, I can deviate by saying logic. But in US GAAP you can't. So all the laws, regulations in US are very stringent. Maybe as per accounting provisions and all that, you don't need to make a provision. But the other laws are already there. We are bound, which are bounding you to make a provision, not accounting, the other regulatory laws. So they have made the accounting slightly lenient. Okay, you need to have more surety, more high probability for recording expenses and incomes. For income, to they are saying 100% sure, not virtual certainty. But for recording expenses, losses, the probability 50% will not go. The probability should be 70-80%. Not written like that. But normally more surety is required relating to recording of provisions. The logic behind this, which I am saying not written here, other laws which are there in US, they are very stringent. So as per the other laws, automatically they are being recorded. Automatically you are bound to record. So relating to provisions, they don't need to make so much money, more conservative things they are not going. They are less conservative. You will say, that's not correct, sir. But when you work in US, you will work with US organization, you will understand that's their culture. So when other laws we combine with the accounting need not be so much conservative. So first of all, the US GAAP says probability threshold. In IFRS, it is 50%, but in US GAAP, you can say 70-75%. Like I said in the top, 60% chance of loss. In IFRS, you will make a provision, but in US GAAP, not. Because the probability need to be 70-75%. With 60% in IFRS, you are making a provision, but in US GAAP, not. Measurement of provision. In IFRS, you need to find out expected value, present value. But in US GAAP, no expected value. The most likely amount, or maybe you can say that the minimum amount. They say like minimum amount. If most likely you can't calculate. The estimation is different in US GAAP. The contingent asset in IFRS 90-95% chalega. But in US GAAP, no. In US GAAP, 100% surety. The amount which is payable after 1 year present value calculation in IFRS by a discount rate, like we discussed in other IFRS also. But in US GAAP, no present value calculation. The discounting need not be done unless and until some law says that. Discounting is not required. So in short, we can say probability for recording liability expense in US GAAP 70-75%. The IAS earlier, but US GAAP till the time that probability is not coming, it is more later. The measurement estimate expected value here most likely or minimum value. The assets recording here it is virtually certain 90-95. Here it is when the money is received then only. When the money is realizable then only. Discounting here it is required, here it is very less discounting. Even though something payable after 3 years, you will write the same amount as a provision. You don't calculate the present value. You can say, as I said, these meanings are saying that in US, other laws are very stringent and you can't deviate. You are bound to accept those laws. But in IFRS, you can deviate because it's principle. You will say, I'm not applying because of this, you can do away with. But in US GAAP, there is no such things. Rule-based, more conservative in other laws. So here in accounting, they don't need to be so conservative. IAS 37 recognizes uncertainty earlier. US GAAP recognizes later. Would you rather see losses earlier or only when certain? I will say losses earlier. Only when certain, maybe US GAAP is looking bad by writing this language. But in US GAAP, other laws are there which does not require in accounting so much conservatism. US laws are rule. You can't deviate. You are bound to accept that. But Indian laws and the countries which are following IFRS, the laws are very open-ended. You can't do away with any law by giving logic. So maybe in accounting, IAS 37 looks like ease. No such conservatives, high-fi principles. But when you combine with other laws, because accounting in standalone cannot be understood. Accounting should be understood with other aspects. Then you will not find this thing. But for accounting purpose, we can say, okay, more and more surety required for recording liability, provisions for recording assets. But in IFRS, less surety, moti, if the information is there, we are bound to record as per IFRS the provisions and assets. Assets more surety, 90, 95, but here even 100%. That's the basic difference between IFRS and US GAAP. The more detailing when we will be studying US GAAP classes, we will be studying as per US GAAP only. But once you are understanding these, the basic differences in every IAS, IFRS, your US GAAP knowledge becomes very superpower automatically. If you attend the US GAAP classes live, very well. If you don't attend, no point doing recordings. Because there's once I said now, 25% give exam. Similarly, so many classes, if you do recording, never you will be able to finish everything. Whatever is your purpose, at least we cover one thing. IFRS knowledge we cover, give the exam. Then we can refer US GAAP. If you attend the live classes, very well. They are on Sunday and Friday this time from 10th of March. I will say exact dates, don't worry. I'm just saying the schedule for the IFRS classes are ready, but US GAAP classes are not yet ready. I will share all together with all of you. This is IAS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. Not the purpose of how the accounting will be done, what type of question comes in exam, a basic understanding of IAS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities and contingent assets. The basic difference with US GAAP. Anybody has anything to ask? Otherwise, we are leaving. We will be doing in the next class taxation, deferred tax, provisions and all that. Okay. So leaving for today. Meeting next Friday, 7:30. Tada. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.